Hey guys, thanks so much for checking out episode number 7 of the Landon and Dillan Show. On this episode, we talk with our good friend Jay, who is an ex-LDS member, and the story he has to tell about his experience in the Latter-day Saints Church is absolutely insane. Stay tuned to check it out, and again, if you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button. It'd mean the world to me. Enjoy the episode.
Well, I wrote this song for the Christian youth. I want to teach kids
Dillan.
the Christian truth. If you want
I knew it was going to be this song.
I told him I had something nice and special for the episode tonight.
An urban kick.
I knew it.
You remember this, right?
I love it.
I knew what this was.
2013 this came out. We're sitting at almost 67,000 or million views.
Gosh.
Wow. Rapping for Jesus. Oh, it's so fitting for tonight's
He's a
topic.
life changer, miracle arranger.
gosh.
Wow.
All right, guys. Go ahead, Dillan.
I told you we were going to keep the levity, and you just come right out of the gate.
Look.
Pissing off all the religious folks.
It would not be one of our episodes if we don't get immediately demonetized and, you know, thrown
True.
into this cancel culture. So
True. I mean, I figured that was going to
It's
happen
worth it.
later. It's worth it. Jay's on board. I'm on board.
So everyone,
Worth
welcome.
it.
This is episode 7 of the Landon and Dillan Show. Tonight, and we are going to be talking about a little bit about his experience with the Church of Latter-day Saints and some of his deconversion process there. There's a lot of people excited, Dillan, about this. I posted up an event, and I got some messages from it. I'm definitely going to get a lot of hate from this too, so I'm ready for it. You guys, if you do have a problem, you got a question, comment, concern, you can call us live, 706-237-8230. We'll try our best to answer all of your questions and take your calls live here on the air with Jay. Jay, thank you for joining us tonight, man.
Hey, pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm excited.
Yeah, we are too. I know that Dylan's been messaging me the past couple days about how excited of this episode he is. So
I got this crazy Mormon that'll come on, ex-Mo that'll come on here and talk to you.
Right.
Yeah.
Before we get into the meat of the topic, I do want to point you guys up into the description of the video above or below, depending on what platform you're watching. We are sponsored by Webull, stock trading platform where you can. What'd you say, Dylan? Why you always try to screw up my stupid ad reads?
Because you can start over. I said not after this. Go ahead, continue.
Definitely not after this. Anyway, you want to trade stocks, get you a stock trading platform like Webull. You can do it right on your phone. Actually, today, Dylan, I did not tell you this, but today was my biggest gain that I've ever made on the app. And I was finally on the right side of a massive uptrend on a stock. So I was pretty pumped about that. I made more on stocks today than I did at work in 12 hours last night. So, also, we are sponsored by Fiverr. You can use the link above there, and anything you buy on the Fiverr platform will get a little bit of a kickback, and it's just a cool way to show your support for the stream. So, with that out the way, let's get right into the episode. Dylan, is there anything you want to say before we get started?
Yeah, Jerry, I know you're watching, and I just wanted to say sorry that we're intruding with your time to watch SmackDown. All right, I saw your comment. I know it's SmackDown time, but yeah, let's get into this. So, Landon, do you want to start with your story? Do you want to get into Jay's? What do you want to do?
Yeah, let's get into Jay's. I think I've talked about mine a little, plenty of times on here. So
That's true. So, Jay, just to kind of start off, you were in the Mormon Church for how long?
Let's see. Born into the church. Officially, I'm not officially out, meaning I haven't sent in anything as far as resigning my membership. So I'm still on the records of the church, but I haven't been attending for probably 5 years. The last 5 years. I'm 45, so from when I was born all the way up until about 40 years old. So I've been in it a long time.
What were some of the big things that happened to you that made you start to question, hey, I don't think this is for me?
Well, I mean, I grew up, my parents were converts to the LDS Church. They were Episcopalians. They lived out in the Long Island area. and my dad's story is a little crazy. My mom and him, my dad's side of the family, they're all very, very into the Episcopalian Church, ministers, very religious. And my dad ended up getting into the spa business, like a health spa business. And he's just, loved playing racquetball and working out. And there was a gym rat, a younger kid in high school that was a good racquetball player. And he met this kid, and, this kid was putting a hurt on my dad. My dad was in his, early 20s. And so he started inviting this kid out trying to invite him out early in the mornings to play racquetball with him. And the kid's like, I can't meet up with you because I got this early morning seminary. And my dad was like, what the hell is that? And he's like, well, why don't you come with me to my school and to this seminary, and I'll show you. And so my dad, this mid-20s guy who, had only been married to my mom for a little while, ended up going to this seminary thing with this kid. And they brought the missionaries, the LDS missionaries, over to my folks' home, obviously before I was born and everything. And they ended up getting converted into the church. And that was like, I ended up being born maybe a year or two after that. So that would be considered me being born. They would say born under the covenant, born into the church. And when they did this was, unheard of to, their family. it was a big deal. Like, my dad was getting ready to lose his family over this decision. And so they moved to out of the area. And then they decided to come out west to Utah to be closer to the Mormon faith. And I was like 1 or 2 years old at the time when they moved out west. And I've lived here in Utah ever since. So that's kind of the story of their conversion process. And then I've been brought up in the church ever since. The doubts that I've had, though, when I started having doubts was, as I started getting older and getting into high school, I had a crazy, crazy high school experience, and I loved sports, as a big hockey player, and I partied my ass off all the way through. I was one of those Mormons that, go out and drink the beers, have the kegs, smoke up, do everything that you probably weren't supposed to do as an LDS kid, but I would still go to church on Sundays because my parents would force me into that. And then growing up out in Utah, and a lot of people can relate to this, that there's a lot of pressure on LDS youth to serve an LDS mission. Yeah. And you guys can look this up. I don't know if the stat still holds, but I think Utah has one of the highest teen suicide rates in the country.
Really?
Yeah. And you might want to check the numbers on that, see if it still holds true. But it's really, really high here because of the Mormon culture and the pressures that are put on a lot of these young adults. And I felt that pressure, as I came up on 19 years old. At the time, to serve an LDS mission, it was kind of like the thing that you were supposed to do at 19. And I felt that pressure. And so, although I didn't want to go, I ended up going, saying that I do this mission. And it was a crazy experience, man. But that's kind of when I started having doubts, is you go off to a foreign land and you get called to all kinds of crazy places. And then you start to really question what it is that you believe in. And I still question that shit right now, on what I believe in.
Yeah. Before we get too far into the story, I want to go back to something that you said right there, and more of the roots of it is that you mentioned that you were born into this religion, so you're kind of accepted because you're born into it. Now, what is the process for somebody who's not born into that particular religion? I know there's like some weird thing that you have to be invited to, like the temple and stuff like that. Can you, or maybe I'm completely wrong. I honestly don't know much about it. I was born in Utah, so I have a lot of family that lives out there, and a bunch of them that still are Mormons, and I don't know much about it, but I know there's something weird with that. Can you describe that a little bit?
Yeah, so for non-Mormons or LDS folks, and LDS stands for Latter-day Saints. That's the official name, is the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So for LDS or non-LDS or more non-Mormon kids out here, it's kind of for anyone that's not a member, it's kind of a rough road, I think, out here because and I didn't believe this until I got out of the church and stopped going and seen how my own kids have been treated by members of the church. But really, it's missionaries like myself, 20 plus years ago, that are going out and proselyting, like you would see with a Jehovah's Witness or anybody that's out there knocking door to door or trying to spread a spiritual message and inviting people out to hear their message on Christ or what they believe in. And then if there's interest there, then they're trying to bring you in and get you baptized or meet with, these missionaries that can explain the church to you and then basically convert you into Mormonism. And then it goes from there. And you can get baptized in the church at 8 years old. That's when it starts.
Were these folks who you were able to ask questions to, would they answer your more skeptical and serious questions, or would they kind of brush it off and say, these aren't the kinds of questions we can ask? Like, what was your experience like with asking questions of higher ups in the church?
It just really depended on the person that you're speaking with. I mean, a lot of my doubts were with the scripture, the upbringing. The thing that really sets where we get the term Mormon is from the Book of Mormon. It's a set of scriptures that that are brought in, and it's considered to be like the Mormon's Bible. You've got the Bible, and then you've got the Book of Mormon, which is claimed to be another testament of Jesus Christ. It's about his experiences on on this continent versus where the other continent where the Bible is from. So that's the whole spiel, is they try and spin this story that, like, hey, this is another testament of Jesus Christ. This is his story in the Americas. This is his story over here in the States, during the upbringing of this country, right? He came and visited all these folks over here, the Native American, Indian, all these people that Columbus apparently came over and visited. That's their spin on the Book of Mormon, is that here's another version of the Bible, but on this continent over here.
Do you think it's done that way because it's something more tangible for people?
Yeah, and it was for me. I mean, listen, man. I mean, growing up, like, I had a lot of doubts, and they were just doubts of being a kid. Like, you're not allowed to. They have this what's called a word of wisdom, where you're not allowed to drink, smoke, have tobacco, coffee, tea. They call this the word of wisdom. It's basically considered to be a commandment, where you're not supposed to do all of these things. And I struggled with all of that stuff growing up. Premarital sex, all of that kind of stuff is off limits, chastity and everything. And I'm not saying that there's anything bad with that. I think there's a lot of good in some of those things too, for young adults and people coming up. But, I struggled with a lot of those things. And ironically, when I went to go and serve this mission, I had a reconversion process where I got out and struggled up front, and then immediately was just like, holy shit, like I got to buckle down and really figure out if this is true for me or not.
Yeah, I want you to talk about your mission, because that, to me, when we were talking about this before, and I didn't hear your full story, but like when we were talking about this before, the whole reason I booked you was this story, like, just fascinated the hell out of me, and I think it'll fascinate Landon a lot as well.
It's a crazy story. Like I said, I mean, I was on top of the world. I was having a great time. I had a lot of friends. I was really into hockey. Hockey was my life. I was trying to do the whole juniors program, or, possibly get a scholarship to go play for a university. And so that was my life. And at the time, when I realized that I just wasn't of that upper echelon to make it to the next level, meaning it was either I was going to go play for some scrub juniors team and not get paid shit to play, and get beat up and wrecked for it, with the kind of guy that I was on skates. It was either that or, go to college, try and find something else to go to college. And I wasn't ready for college. And at the time when I came back from playing in Minnesota, at the time I met who is now my wife, and she was older than me. She's 2-3 years older than me. And I fell in love with this chick. I mean, shit, man, I was an 18-year-old, 19-year-old kid, had a beautiful hottie that's 22 years old. That's in college. She's studying to be an ultrasound tech. And I mean, I was hooking up, like this is my chick, man. Like, I can't believe this. And I wanted to marry her, man. I fell head over heels, and she just looked at me and said, listen, cause she's LDS at the time. She's like, I don't want to be the chick that holds you back from doing what you're supposed to do. Like, I think you really ought to serve a mission. And I think it would be really good for you to do that. And so at the time I was like, hell, if that's the only way that I can get with you and marry you, like, I'm going to do it. And that's why I turned my papers in to go is like, I felt like I love this girl so much. And I knew her about 6 months before I ended up left, but I turned in my papers, and I'll never forget, we were sitting up at where I went to school. We had a rock. It was called the H Rock. And I opened up my papers with her. And when I opened up the papers, and this is kind of a traditional thing in Mormon culture, is that you get a letter supposedly from the first presidency of the church, which is considered to be the prophet and his 2 counselors, where they basically tell you where it is that you're going to serve. And it can be anywhere in the world. And so it's a big deal to open up your papers with your family or your loved ones and figure out where it is that you're going to go and serve for the next 2 years of your life. Now, mind you, for a 19-year-old young male with hormones that are raging, those are some of the greatest years of any man's life, and to give up 2 years of your life to go and proselyte about Jesus Christ, like, it takes a special, unique individual to do that shit, right? And so I remember we went up to this rock. I was in my Bronco too with her, and I opened up my papers. I decided, hey, Leslie, you and I are going to open this up together. And I read the first few words out of that, and it said, you've been called to serve. And I said Hermosillo, Mexico, but the way that it's pronounced is Hermosillo, Mexico, which is in the state of Sonora, which is right below Arizona, below Arizona. So you've got from Nogales all the way down to almost, that state that's the desert. The Sonoran Desert's huge. So it's a big area. I thought I was going to get shot. First words out of my mouth is I'm going to die. I'm going to get killed.
That's exactly what I would have been thinking.
Those thoughts go through your head. And you're obviously thinking, like, at the end of this, all I have to do is survive, and I'm going to get some pussy. That's all you're thinking in your head.
Dude.
I'm going to marry the woman of my dreams if I get through this shit.
I was thinking. I was like, I'm going to, I just want to get this shit done so I can get back and get laid. I mean, honestly, that's the only thing that I was thinking of. And I swear to God, I think I dropped an F-bomb opening up my letter. I was like, fuck, I'm going to die. I'm going to get stabbed. I mean, honestly, that's what I thought.
Yeah. Already at this point, though, you're already not programmed the way the church wants you to be programmed. Because if you were programmed the way the church wanted you to be programmed, you would have said, oh no, I can't fuck anybody before we're married, I can't drink, I can't smoke, I can't chew. But you also would have said, I'm doing this for the church, I'm doing this for God. And instead, your incentive was pussy.
Oh yeah. Well, it was that, because, and it wasn't just that. I truly love Leslie. We've been married now 20 plus years, man, 24. And the other, and we have 4 amazing kids. We meant to have 2, but we have 4 kids. That journey has been amazing. Like, we had the boy and the girl, and then we had the whoops aloha baby. And it's like, Jesus Christ, what are we going to do? I had a meltdown. And then she's like, hey, if you could do 3, we can do 4. And my youngest is 12. So my youngest is 12. My oldest is almost 21. He's a Marine, and he's serving in the Middle East right now on an active deployment. So it's been a crazy journey, but I didn't do it just for that. I also did it because, like I said, the pressure behind doing the right thing. Like, Dude, I'm a mama's boy. I mean, I'm a sucker at heart, like for my mom. I put my mom and my dad through a lot of turmoil coming up. Like, you know, the pressures of being a Mormon, and my dad was an LDS bishop. You know, I lived in a nicer area where you didn't want to let mom and dad down, and watching my mother or my father cry when I did things, it tore me up. I hated to see my mom cry. And so, you know, like wanting to do the right thing for them too, and our family, and being the oldest in my family out of 5 kids, you know, there was a lot of pressure to do this. And I felt like I had to, not only for them, but for Leslie.
Now you
sure.
finally, so let's fast forward a little bit. You finally get to Mexico.
Yep. That was crazy.
And you're thinking,
first, you had to learn Spanish before you went down there. Did you know that prior to going, or is there a whole?
Yeah, so they tell you they have what's called the Missionary Training Center, and basically what happens is when you get called to a foreign country, if you end up going foreign, you end up spending more time in this Missionary Training Center, which is down in Provo, Utah, which is right by Brigham Young University. Yeah. And you end up going down there, and you end up spending 2 months cramming Spanish in. I mean, and we're talking all day, every day. I mean, so that by the time that you leave that missionary training center experience, you can speak, like you can share your testimony or your conviction of Jesus Christ in Spanish, and you can say basic things like "Hola, cómo está," you know, and you know all this stuff, and you think that you can speak it pretty good until you get over into that foreign land, and you know, oh shit,
Did
it's
they,
on.
Did they teach you how to say "Don't shoot me, sir"?
That's put the knife away. Put the knife away.
Well, here's a crazy story. So I ended up. You'll always see Mormon missionaries in pairs of 2. Okay, you always see them together walking in 2s, and that's kind of a missionary rule and a tradition that it's never going to be a boy and a girl. It's always going to be 2 dudes or 2, and they call them elders, or 2 sisters, right? And they're always going to be in pairs, and you're supposed to go anywhere with somebody else. Well, the day that I was supposed to leave, I had some visa issues getting into Mexico. I was delayed, and I didn't have a companion to travel into Mexico with. And so I end up, you know, like I said, I'm young. I get on this plane. I fly into Hermosillo, Mexico. I'm walking off the plane, and I'm thinking, okay, as I get off the plane, it's so damn hot that I think it's like the plane engines just, you know, hitting me with the heat. Dude, it ended up being 117 degrees when I got off that plane. The further I walked, I was like, it's not getting any cooler. And then when I got into the airport, there was no one there to pick me up. So I'm standing there, this big gringo, a skinny, white-haired kid, you know, blonde, sticking out like a sore thumb. People are looking at me all crazy. I can't speak a lick of Spanish. And then finally, like an hour and a half later, here comes these missionaries that were in what they call in the missionary offices to come and pick me up, and my luggage got lost. So I show up into a foreign country, my luggage got stolen or lost. I can't find it. And then they take me to these mission offices where I get to meet the president of the mission, who's going to tell me who my companion is and where I'm going to go serve in my first area. And when I get there, the prophet of our church at the time had passed away. And they were briefing all of the missionaries in the office when I got there that the prophet had died. And they're all talking, and I'm laughing my ass off because I can't hear anything I can't understand anything that they're talking about. And I'm laughing. And then finally, one missionary who can speak a little bit of English is like, "Oh, by the way, prophet died." And I was like, what? You know? And so I was just like shell shocked. I'm looking around. There's bugs on the, you know, cockroaches, and, you know, culture shock for sure. I don't know what I'm going to eat. I was a picky eater at the time. I'm freaking out about what I'm going to eat there. I can't speak any English. I mean, it was culture shock.
And it got worse. Like, as you got to see where you were going to be living.
Oh, in a hole.
It got so much worse. And
oh, yeah.
And for full transparency, Jay, can you tell us how long you were there?
2 years. 2 years.
Good.
So you did the full mission.
Full mission. I stayed the whole time. Matter of fact, I took pride in it because here's the thing. And his name was Elder Taylor. He was from Arizona. So one of the missionary rules was that you could never be a gringo, a white boy from the States could never be with another gringo and have him as a companion. That you were always to be paired up with a native of that country. So, a Mexican, I was always going to have a Mexican companion. And that was part for safety concerns, and also so that I could learn the language much faster, because they figured that if you're not living with another American, then you won't be tempted to ever speak in English, and you're going to pick up on that language much quicker, which is a very strategic and smart way of thinking about it. That's full immersion, right?
Right.
I mean, that's a big deal. You can learn the language pretty quick that way. Well, I ended up going into an area called Obregon. It's a city of Obregon in the state of Sonora, which is about midway through, halfway down the Sonora state there. And there, in the house that we were in, it was a very poor area, but the house that we were in, we had one gringo in there, and he had been in more than a year, and he was well loved, dude from Arizona, and he wouldn't talk to me in English, and he was kind of a leader, a hardcore dude. And about 3 months in, I'm tripping balls. Like, I want to go home, like, I mean, it's the shit, man. And I had a good friend that was a mentor to me pass away. My parents wrote to me, and I had letters getting stolen, money getting stolen out of the mail, system and shit, just all kinds of stuff. Just all kinds of shitty things that you can imagine, that I had seen while I was out there those first 3 months. And I was ready to come home. I was like, fuck it. I'm coming home. I don't care what anyone says. And then, I was sulking one day, and Elder Taylor came in, and he broke form, and he started screaming at me in English. You fucking pussy, fucking man up. You motherfucker, you're making us look bad, you bitch, fucking man up. And he was going off on me and cursing at the top of his lungs. And I was in shell shock, like, this dude is, a great guy. He's a leader and everything. And it hit me. It hit me a lot. Like, he was like, don't embarrass us like this. Like, you're not a puss. Like, step up and learn the language and do this. And that clicked. It was like, boom. It just snapped. And long story short, I ended up speaking that language from the gutter, like, so well that when I left, they were grateful I left that mission, because I learned my Spanish from the cholos on the street corner, and I speaked from the gutter. And they when I left, they had a little testimony meeting, and the president got up and said, "Oh, Elder Morrison, I can't wait for you to get home and move on and this and that." He's like, you speak, your language is trash. You speak from the gutter. And when I got up and I thanked him for it, I said, you paid me the biggest compliment, because that's who I love. That's, the whole purpose of a ministry or serving the people down here was to serve the people that needed it the most. And those were the guys on the street corner. Those were the cholos. Those were the vagabonds, the drifters. And they were the ones. And you know what was funny? Is everyone would make fun of me. All the elders and sisters I felt like they would always make fun of my language. Whereas if I went out on the street corner, and I did for several months after Elder Taylor got in my face, I'd go outside out on that street corner, and they'd be so afraid of these cholos that they were going to get stabbed or robbed by these guys, because I was a crazy gringo that would go out on the corner and chop it up with these guys and be like, "Hey, ¿cómo has estado, eh? Hey, vato." And I'd try, and they'd be like, "Look at this crazy gringo trying to chop it up with us." And so what they would do is they'd say, "No, you don't say it this way. You say it this way." And instead of laughing at me, they would laugh with me. And we had this rule. If I would teach them how to curse in English and stuff, they would teach me everything that I wanted to know in Spanish. And after 6 months of that, I was just like, "Hey, puto. Hey, pinche puto pendejo. Chingadísima madre, eh?
Hey, but to your
Simon, let's go."
to your advantage, though, like, if shit hits the fan, like, they're gonna help you out more than the other people.
Dude. And I never feared it.
That's smart. That's street smarts.
Yeah.
They loved it. They loved it, because here's a dude that come into my country and is taking the time to care about me out of his time when he probably has. I mean, when I did get money, I'd hook some of those dudes up. Like I'd go down to the hot dog vendor and I'd buy that shit up, and I would go and I would hit them up, and they'd be looking at me like crazy, like, what is this dude doing? Like, why does he even bother or care? And I'm like, you want to convert someone to your religion?
Right.
Don't preach the Bible. Preach love, man. Like, take care of people. And that's one thing that I learned early on in my life that helped change me as a person, is that love people for who they are. Right.
That's just a testament to that you're a good person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's one thing that we talk about all the time, is that there's good people out there and you can be a good person. You don't need the religion. You don't need that dogma of religion. You can get rid of that and just be a good person.
Dude,
the religion doesn't make you the good person.
Religion, I told Dillan this the other day, religion, when we were talking, I feel like truly now that religion is put on this earth to control people. And it's, you've got all these different sects and forms of religions and split offs, and there's thousands of them, right? And every single person has got one thing in common that belongs to them, that like, my church is true. My church is true. Mine's the true church. And how can you say to Dillan or anyone like, oh, your church is not true, when that's bullshit.
And none of them can agree. Thousands, and they can't agree.
And that's the thing that I said, and I've said it like this on this show, and I said it like this to you, Jay. It really is a dick measuring contest. It's my God's dick is bigger than your God's dick. And everyone, now that the interview portion is over, we can get to talk about the serious subjects. So be sure to call in with your questions, complaints, and whatnot at 706-237-8230. That is 706-237-8230.
Finally, dude, you finally wrote it down. I'm so proud of you.
Nice.
I actually had a couple questions before we move on. I'm writing them down because I have a terrible memory. You talked about the Book of Mormon and how that it's a supplement to the Bible and
Bible.
Just the standard Bible that most Christian religions go by. If there are, because I don't know, I've never read the Book of Mormon, but if there are contradictions between the two, how do they settle which one to listen to, or you know what I mean? Like how do you handle that?
You don't handle it very well, and that's the part of the problem. And I think that's where people like myself get in trouble, is that your shelf begins to crack and crumble a little bit. And that's the thing, is like, I took a lot of pride when I was out there in the mission. We'd come against Testigos de Jehovah. That's Jehovah's Witnesses. We'd come across these guys. They would knock on our door, not knowing that we're LDS missionaries. I was like, fucking come on in. Let's go. You grab your Bible. Let's go.
Really?
Gang warfare.
Oh,
wait. We have to back this up. We have to back this up.
Yeah,
So
man.
you
It's
mean
like,
to
you
tell me-
want to fucking go. Let's go. Let's bash.
It's like rival gangs. It's like the Crips and the Bloods over in
hell
Mexico,
yeah.
and no
Hell
Mexicans
yeah.
are involved. It's just
Hell
a
yeah.
bunch of white people preaching.
It's like, oh, you want to preach your gospel to me, and okay, yeah, I'll let you preach your stuff, but you're going to listen to mine, and then we're going to hash this out, and we're going to get into it. And I've been so far out of that scripture game that early on, I used to have cards, like little cue cards and things for every single answer that I had written down, and like this passage for this, or when they combat me with this and say this, I'm going to say this. And you would study that stuff inside and out. But as you would come across in your own, at least in my own studies of a study in scripture, there would be questions that would come up, variations between the Bible, the King James version of the Bible, which the LDS Church follows, and the Mormon Church. And you would start trying to cross-reference this BS, coming from the Book of Mormon that was translated by the prophet Joseph Smith. And as you had questions with this, you would go to, scholars that had more experience, and you would, pose those questions to them and say, hey, what do you think about this? Or how do you answer this? And it was always like, oh, put your faith in Christ. That's not important. That's not important. You don't need to know that. Do you really need to know the answer to that right now? Because why are you wasting your time on that? Let's focus on the bigger issues at hand. Like, that'll be revealed to us at the right time and the right place. And it just furthers your shelf break at that point.
So it seems to me like this is very Jim Jones like it's almost like they shipped you to Mexico and it's like the People's Temple over there. Like you guys were basically sent to this, you were sent to this foreign land to share your beliefs to the locals. And like, was there like a plan if things ever went bad? Like, was there ever a plan if like you guys were ever attacked or like?
Dude, the mentality over there is that you're held up by angels, and that nothing's ever going to happen, and that if you put your faith in the Lord, you're a warrior, man. You're a spiritual warrior, and if you die in the service of Jesus Christ, you're a made man. You're going to heaven, and so like it's pretty crazy how when I look back on that experience now as a grown man and look back at my time at 19 years old and how vulnerable I was. And I was a tall dude, a very fit dude at the time. I mean, listen, like having that faith in Jesus Christ, I felt like I was untouchable. Mm-hmm. But going back to that story, the first 3 or 4 months that I was in, I got robbed. And I happened to be it was in Obregon, and they called a P day. It's a personal day where you do all of your laundry and you can play. It's not when you're out proselyting. You get 1 day a week. It's typically Mondays where you would get your laundry done, clean, go out and play basketball or just cut loose, go and do various things with the other elders or sisters in your area. And we get to wear what's called your P-Day clothes, your personal day clothes, which is you don't have to be in uniform. You don't have to be in the shirt and the tie. You don't have to be in a suit or anything. And so I was wearing some regular clothes, and I had this knockoff Chicago Bulls hat, and I had some fake Ray-Bans on that I bought at the flea market on the corner, in Mexico somewhere. And I'm walking down the street with another gringo, Elder Matthews, I think it was his name, from Oregon, the Oregon area. And if he ever listens to this or sees this, man, he'll remember how crazy that day was. We got hit up, and a dude walked right up to me, and he came up to me, and he put a revolver right to my chest and said, "Dame tus lentes." And I laughed. I was like, I don't even know what he's asking me for. And he goes, "Dame tus lentes," like, give me your glasses. And I didn't know what to say. And Elder Matthews, and we're dressed in our regular street clothes, and Elder Matthews is looking at me, and I like looking at him, and I'm laughing, and he goes, "Quieres un balazo?" And I was like, what's he saying? He said, he just asked you if you want a bullet. Give him your glasses. And I was like, "Quítalos, take them. And he ripped the hat right off my head, took the glasses right off, and he just looked at me, said a few more things, put the gun back in his pocket, and he walked off. And it was a crazy, surreal experience for me. And after it was all done, I was just like, "Oh, no big deal." It was no big deal. I told the president, and they immediately transferred us out of that area, and we went to another area. And that was one of many experiences like that I had in Mexico, where my life was put on the line on more than one occasion.
I think it's important to note, though, Jay, you're not like you're young at this point, but you're like almost 20 years old at this point. Mm-hmm. You're so brainwashed by this affiliation that in your mind you're thinking as a grown ass man, "Oh, this guy won't do shit to me. I have God on my side."
Oh, yeah. That's how I felt. Like, I'm untouchable. Like, I'm in the service of God right now, so he's going to lift me up and protect me. And there were times and some experiences that I can't explain on my mission that are pretty surreal and crazy out there, where I almost felt that. And to this day, I don't have answers for some of those experiences. But my house was robbed plenty of times. Where they took everything I owned. I mean, all of my clothes, anything that mom and dad had sent or any friends from back home had sent, all gone. And I'd have to repurchase shit while I was over there. You'd see your stuff like a week or two later on people, or people carrying it down the street. You're just like, I want to beat that dude's ass, but you're not going to do any of that. It's not a big deal.
So now, you go through this 2 years of excruciation, just shell shock and living in a shack.
When I say shack, just so I can share one thing for you, just so that you guys get an idea of the kind of terrain that I'm in. The first 6 months of my mission, we couldn't even afford like gas in the house. And I cooked my eggs, just so everybody knows. I had a chicken out in the backyard that laid the eggs for us. We lived on $1 a day, $30 a month. Okay, so I just let me just get that right out there. I lived on $1 a day. I hated eggs until I got to Mexico. I learned to love that chicken because every day he would always leave. That chicken would always leave us enough eggs to eat, and we would cook them on an iron. Okay, a clothes iron. That's how I would scramble my eggs. So I want to paint you the picture of like, that's how dirt ass poor we were over there. I had lost probably more than 50 pounds as an already skinny dude. If I showed you a picture, I looked like Skeletor. They almost sent me home even a year in after I got parasites over there. It was bad.
So is that part by design, or I mean, who's paying for this place down there? Is this like a home that
I am.
Okay, so this isn't like a home that the church owns, and then they constantly every 2 years rotate people out.
No, they do. Yeah, no, they do. So what ends up happening is there's a church fund, and what members of the church can do, especially here in Utah, well-off members can donate part of their money to the church, like education fund or the missionary fund. And they call them wards. They're like areas in and around the different states. Your area has a ward, and within that ward, it makes up so many members, and it has a budget within that ward. And every ward's budget has a missionary fund. So if you wanted to serve a mission and you wanted to go out somewhere, it's going to cost your family like maybe $300 a month. And it's either they're going to try and encourage you to come up with that money and save up for it and pay your own way, or they're going to ask for donations from the members, which they always have in these nicer areas out here where, like, if you can't afford to go, they're not going to prevent you from going. The ward is going to pay for you to go. And what's crazy is whether you're in Tokyo, Japan, or Hermosillo, Mexico, where Tokyo, you obviously can't live on $1 a day, right? Their budgets are 5-10 times greater than a budget of Brazil or Mexico or Argentina or Chile or any of these poorer areas. And so, for me, I knew that my family was dropping $350 a month for me to be out there. And yet I was only getting $30 of that. And then the rest of it was going to someone else to help them out. So,
That's crazy.
When it came to living on my budget, it's determined by an area presidency how much that budget's going to be for the mission that you're in. And one of the things that I can say that my dad and I did is before I left that mission, I ended up having that budget increased by triple, I think, by the time I left, because I got so sick that people started fearing for my life over there. And my dad raised hell with the church presidency, some of the higher ups that he knew, some of the general authorities, and they called down to the area presidency, and they ended up, this is like I said, while I was there, they ended up getting that allowance per se increased, and it helped the entire mission out. So instead of getting $1 a day, by the time I left, we were probably getting like closer to $60 a month. It was like more than double than what we had originally gotten, which was, for me, that's the difference of being able to not beg on the street, which I had to do on my mission, which is crazy.
And so, you really did. You had it rough for this 2 years. And when you return home, you're
brainwashed.
You're much
brainwashed.
You're brainwashed. You're
PTSD. It's
exactly.
a form of PTSD for sure.
And you come back, and are you congratulated by the church? Is there like a ceremony that happens?
Yeah. So traditionally you have, when you leave, it's called a farewell. And that's where you go in on a Sunday, you give like a little sermon. And traditionally early on, it would be you getting up there and you and your family. And it's a rah-rah up at a pulpit where you're talking to a congregation of, 300 members of the church here in Utah, where you talk about, I'm grateful for this, and I'm so excited for this. And here's all the people I want to thank for getting me to this point in my life. That's called a farewell. And then usually after you have that little sacrament meeting where you're letting everybody know how much you love them and everything. Then you go back to someone's house, you have a big get together and a party and celebrate you going out on your mission. When you come home, it's called a homecoming party. And usually you'll have people before this whole COVID and stuff, and before the TSA and everything got involved, people would line up, the airport terminals waiting for these missionaries to get off the planes. And you'd have people standing around waiting to greet you when you got back and celebrate you coming home. You're returning with honor, all this bullshit, that they feed you with. When I got home, my entire family was sitting in that terminal. And I'll never forget, I purposely waited to be the last one off that plane, because I knew my future wife was sitting in there with her family. And there was a lot of pressure there. Like, what's crazy is while I was gone, she waited for me, and my parents became good friends with her parents. And there was a lot of pressure there. Like, I literally you're not supposed to call home. You can call home now. They've changed the missionary rules up where, like, you were completely cut off from your families for 2 years. You weren't supposed to call home, talk with them. The only time that you could call home was twice. Once on Christmas, they would let you call home for like 5 minutes, and then they would let you call home on Mother's Day. And so towards the end of my mission, there was so much pressure that I would call home, and I told Leslie, I was like, hey, what happens if this doesn't work out between you and I? Like, we're just two completely different people. Like, this is going to be awkward. And she's like, you'll know if it's not going to work out when you get off that plane. So I purposely waited to be the last one off that plane. I came out, I saw my wife. And they say that, like, missionaries are all jacked up because they've been around, the same sex, for 2 years, haven't talked to any girls. They stayed away from them. They're all weird when they get home. Jesus, dude, I was ready to, like, hit that shit right when I got off the plane, man. She was right there. I looked at her. I was like, that is my wife. I want to marry her. I walked right up here. I was like, get me to the stake president's house so that you can release me. Take that name tag off. It's a formal, like, where they, like, literally take the name tag off your shirt and say you've been released as a missionary. And then you can, like, now have contact with the opposite sex and stuff. And we went straight from the airport to my stake president's house, the president who was going to release me. And the whole time I've got my hand behind, I'm in the front seat. She's in the back seat. I've got my hand behind me, and I'm holding her hand the whole way to his house. He takes that off me. Boom. I'm jamming my tongue down her throat, just saying, I love you. I mean, it was normal for me. When I got into my house, they turned the water on the faucet, and I just broke out in tears. I was so jacked up. I was so humbled, like running my bare feet across carpet. I just wept like a teeny baby, and my family was just like, what is going on? And I was like, you have no idea. You have no idea what it is that you have that you take for granted every day. You have no clue. That's how screwed up I was.
Landon, I understand that you wrote down some questions and that some commenters have asked questions. Do you have any more to run through real quick?
Yeah. I'm curious, after that happened, your wife isn't part of the church anymore with you as well, correct?
No. So we took that journey together for sure.
Okay. So that was like a mutual thing you guys said. Like, explain some of that process of how you guys decided this is just not for us.
Yeah. So I'll tell you one story that really broke my shelf, that really crushed me. So one of the things that I think is really screwed up in the church is that you mentioned early on, Landon, about the temple. So these temples are a higher level of the church. And to be a temple, to be a member that can go through an LDS temple, you have to adhere to a strict code of conduct. You have to conduct. It's basically you have to follow certain commandments. And part of that is being a full tithe payer, which means you have to give 10% of your annual income to the church. You have to, meet all of these different requirements to be a faithful member that can go, a temple-worthy member. And to get married in the temple, you have to adhere to this code of conduct. Well, all my family from Long Island, New York, is not members of the church, right? Remember my dad's family and stuff. So, they're very traditional, old school, New Yorkers that come out, the salt of the earth, let me tell you, like the best people. And they come out to this Mormon wedding, and they can't be a part of it because they're not, it's done. The actual ceremony is done in the Mormon temple. Oh. And so they'll hold what's called like a ring ceremony, where like people that can't go through the temple can be a part of like kind of like a ring exchange. It's like kind of like a knockoff, like little marriage vow thing, but it really isn't. The whole ceremony in the marriage is done in the temple. And if you're not there or can't be there, then you can't be a part of it. Well, that was one of the greatest days of my life when I got married to my wife. That day was perfect. And I love her to death. I will never take that back. I just wish I danced. I wish I partied at my wedding. I wish I had a good time, but that gives you a little bit of a background of what a temple marriage is. Well, my sister-in-law, my wife's sister, when she went to get married, Leslie and I were not living all of the commandments at the time, per the church. We were not full tithe payers. We were struggled financially early on in our marriage. And, 10% of my income at the time was a matter of whether or not we were going to be able to eat or do certain things. And, we struggled, and I kept on, pressing her like, hey, your sister's marriage is coming up. If we don't start paying our tithing, we're not going to be able to go and see her get married. And so Leslie and I buckled down, and we really tried to put forth an effort to pay our tithing. And it had been a good probably 4 months of us getting caught up on our tithing and paying. And I struggled. Like I said, I struggled with that. Well, we went in for a temple recommend, which is where you go in like an interview by your bishop, and he interviews you to see if you're worthy to go through the temple. And he asks you these questions. And he said, are you a full tithe payer? And I said, yes, I am a full tithe payer, because I had been paying my tithing consistently for 3 or 4 months at this point. And he said, okay, whatever. And this bishop at the time, who was a neighbor, was a total dick. Well, he interviewed me, right after he interviewed me, he interviewed my wife. And my wife came out of it. The interview was really long, which is really weird too. Like a grown ass man behind closed doors with a person of the opposite sex. That's another shelf break. But the interview was long, and my wife called me up on the phone after the interview, and she was walking home. She was walking home from the church. The church was just a couple of blocks from my house, and she was in tears. And I said, stay right there. I'm going to come down, and I'm going to get you. And I got down there, and I got her in the car. We went up the hill, and we parked somewhere. And I said, what's going on? And she said, I can't believe what had happened. I said, tell me what happened. And she said, well, he asked me if we were full tithe payers. And I said that we were. And he said, hang on one second. He went right next door to the clerk's office where they do all of the funds and stuff. And he pulled out a report and said, well, it looks like you haven't been paying tithing this whole year. You guys can continue to keep doing what you're doing. And then we'll check back in another 6 months, and then we'll give you your temple recommend. And so my wife couldn't get a temple recommend to go and see one of her best friends, her little sister, go get married in the temple. And then out of all things, a few weeks later, when we were at church in Sacrament, that bishop comes walking out, opens up the doors of the congregation, comes out, and I'm sitting in the foyer, and I have long hair, kind of like about the length that I have now. And, I have my beard and stuff, and he walks right up to me, and he grabs my hand in front of all these people that I'm surrounded with, and he goes, hey, Brother Morrison, how's that tithing coming along?
What a dick.
And I just about knocked the dude out.
Yeah.
I mean, I just looked at him like, are you serious? And that was the first real thing that set me over the edge, where my wife was struggling at that point. We continued to make it work. We continued to go on to church for, years after that. But that was the first real big issue that we had.
That's a power move. That to me is a control thing, because he could have gotten the files when he was interviewing you, and he didn't.
Yep. He made her cry. Power thing. You're right.
And he knew what was at stake here. He knew quite literally what was at stake is this sister being able to be a part of her sister's wedding. He knew it was at stake. Mm-hmm. And then later he brought up your financial, your finances in front of a church full of people.
That's right. Right in front of everybody, and made no, it wasn't discretionary. I mean, it wasn't in and soft spoken, voices or anything like this. He made it
He
like
wanted
he wanted people to know.
He wanted to
people
belittle
hear
you
it.
in front of everyone. That's what it
Yeah,
was.
in front of everyone. And it embarrassed me. I mean, I felt embarrassed. I felt hurt. I felt shameful. And that's when you say that religion is to control people. I think that is, looking back now, that's what I think the Mormon church feeds off of, is that, hey, we're the true and only church out there. And that if you don't do this, this, and this, you're not going to obtain the next level of, you're not going to obtain celestial glory, and members live in this fear their entire lives, in unhappiness.
And I know I had compared the Mormon church to the Scientology.
Similar, very similar.
Because it has that same kind of tier setup where there's an incentive to pay more and you get more special, you unlock special tiers, and then when you hit a certain tier you learn special things that the tiers below you don't get to know about, and if you tell anyone God, they'll kill your family or whatever the fuck they do. It really is all a very culty control.
It is.
And so, as you and your wife were getting older, you were having children. You had your children. All of your children have been alive while you were still technically a member of the church. So all 4 of your children were born into the church.
That's ultimately why we left. I will tell you the breaking point and the day that drove me over the edge, and then right after that, how I came to where I'm at now.
Please go.
And this is serious. This is pretty crazy. It's hard to fathom. It might even get me a little emotional. But my oldest son, like I said, he's a Marine. I'm very proud of him. And when at certain points in your life as a male in the Mormon church, you're given what's called the priesthood. So at age 12 years old, you get the Aaronic priesthood, and then at 14 years old, you become what's called so at 12, you become a deacon. At 14, you become a teacher, and at 18, you become a priest. And then usually after that, once you are endowed or you take on the special covenants of the temple, you usually become an elder and part of an elder's quorum. Well, my son was 12 years old at the time and was getting the Aaronic priesthood. And when you go to do that, you sit down with your bishop of your ward, who is like, it would be the equivalent of your pastor in your area for the Mormon church, sitting down and having an interview. Now, most of these individuals tend to be older, right? You can have young bishops, but most of these guys are well established. It's weird out here in Utah. Most of these guys are very successful financially. They're in positions of trust because they're, so-called killing it because they've lived their life accordingly to the church, and that's why they're so blessed, and all this bullshit with that comes along with that, right? And my son went in to get his Aaronic priesthood interview, and mind you, a dude that's 50 plus years old sitting behind a closed door with a 12-year-old young boy, asking him sensitive questions about hey, do you have a problem with masturbation? Do you have a problem with living the law of chastity? Here's what set me over the edge. My son came home from that interview and walked up to me, and I'm a young dad at the time, and he says, "Dad, what is bestiality?"
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Oh my God.
Fathom. I mean, I know you guys are young dudes. I mean, put yourself in my position. Yeah, I have a son that literally comes up to me and says, "Dad, what is bestiality?"
At 12 years old.
And I said, "What are you talking about, man? What are you talking about?" And he goes, "Well, I was having my interview with the bishop, and he asked me if I had a problem with bestiality." I said, "What the fuck?" I said, he asked you. I'm like, I was dumbfounded, and I'm like, what is a man asking a 12-year-old kid? What I mean, see, and when my son told him, like, what is that? The guy laughed and said, "Okay, you don't have an issue with that. No worries. Don't. It's we'll move on."
Wow.
I went to that bishop and I had some words with that dude. And trust me, I had some words with that. And that from that day forward, I was like, no more. Like I am not going there. And this is during a time where bishops had been getting called out behind for having these closed sessions behind closed doors with young adults, women and males, men.
Yeah.
Things were coming out in the news that, especially out here in Utah, it's like, oh, this bishop is, a pedophile, or he got caught doing this or this or this. And I mean, and now the church has taken a stronger stance on this very thing. People have been excommunicated from the church for standing up for these kinds of things. I mean, people have literally been saying the church can no longer do this, and for voicing these types of concerns, they've been exed from the church for it. Now there's protocols in place that you can't even do these things. There's certain questions that they can't ask you anymore because they were getting blown up by dudes like me and others in the know that were like, yeah, we're going to lawyer up. We're going to take this to the next level.
And that's the thing is, like, the Mormon church, when you think Mormon, you think of like Donny Osmond,
Oh yeah. And we know the Osmonds. I've known the Osmonds, my dad knew them really well. So, the whole Branson, Missouri thing, I've been to those shows, and they're a great family. They're great people. Not every Mormon is a bad person. A matter of fact, I would say that most LDS people that you come across they mean well. They're really good people.
Yeah, and that's what I was getting at. Like, but it seems like for every Osmond, there's like a David Allen Coe. It seems like for everyone who's like the saint, there's like the not. And Jay, I don't think you knew where I was going with that, but it all makes sense knowing my music and all that, why I would say that. Was there pressure on you in just like the outside world, and I guess to some extent your inside world, because everyone around you was so prim and proper? Were you supposed to just radiate Mormon?
Oh, I was what you would call the 50-mile Mormon, right? That's a terminology out here. Like one of the things that's kept me in Utah all these years is the fly fishing. I'm a big fisherman, and I love trout, and I love the mountains
Up in
and
the Snake River.
just getting out on the river, I mean, that's what keeps me in Utah, and just the beauty of being out, and like that's where I started rebelling. I was like, this is church. This is church right here on the river. Like, how, if there is a God, I don't think I can get any closer to that superior being than right here in this water, listening to that river and the water moving through my legs and catching these beautiful trout on these flies that I've tied, and church at high noon, right? And I found a sense of freedom and relaxation, and I know I'm waxing poetic, stuff right now. I mean, but that's what it means to me. It was an art. And so when I would get out there and I would feel this, some of the other guys that were in the same boat as me, and that I would consider, my bros out here, we would go on these trips away from Utah, up into Montana and Idaho. And while I was Mormon, I felt these pressures to where, like, I've always struggled with what they call the word of wisdom, beer, alcohol, nicotine. I always struggled with that, ever since I was in high school. And so, to get out away from Utah and go up into Idaho or Montana and, grab a PBR.
I knew there was
and
visual.
Yes.
I love beer, and
I love this guy.
Jay is. Can I just say really quick? Jay has a philosophy that I agree with so much, and his philosophy. Yeah, we're all smoking, drinking. It's great. Jay's philosophy, and I agree with this philosophy 100%. He said, a big part of the reason I left the church was I think you should be a good person just to be a good person, because I don't know what's after here, but I just know that I want to be good while I'm here.
Yeah, I mean, and that's, as I started getting older, and realizing what made me happy, there was a couple of things that really made me happy. One, being on the water and fishing really made me happy. Two, seeing my kids achieve their dreams or have successes, whether it's football, ballet, anything that they did, whether it was playing the piano or whatever, watching them excel at anything that they chose to do made me very happy. And then the third thing that made me very happy was beer. I love beer. And, to have someone tell me that beer is a sin was really hard for me. So we would take off to Idaho and Montana, and I could get away with these guys that hold it down. They're weekend church goers that could go to church and hold the priesthood and hold callings in the church, but I could get away from them and go up into Idaho and Montana and get out and catch these beautiful trout and go to the bar and get lit and have a good time, and then wait another 6 more months to be able to go and do that again and cut loose. I mean, I was doing that in hiding, and I just felt so guilty for doing that. Like, until it was one day that I was bouncing at a club early on to make some extra money, and I was bouncing, and one of the members in my ward showed up, didn't see me as a bouncer at the club, and he's holding a beer, and then he sees me and he throws the beer in the garbage can because he didn't want to be seen. And I played it off like I didn't see him, and he's there the next day at church sitting right next to me, and he's freaking out whether or not I saw him drinking that. Like, I didn't want to feel that way, And that's where my journey took a turn. And my brother-in-law, who I'm really close with, I consider him to be, he's a professional. He's an attorney. He's educated. I didn't graduate, with a full 4 or 6 year degree, college degree. Like, he's an attorney. So I would consider him a professional, and I trust his advice on certain things. And he hit me up one day and he said, I got something to share with you, and I want you to read it. I want you to be open about it. And, when it comes from him, and it came from and comes from Leslie's brother, who was in the bishopric when he left the church too, to see those two dudes send me this piece, this bit, and then watch these guys that have lived their lives religiously to the T. Like, their journey is nothing like mine. Like, these guys are straight and narrow dudes. When they sent me the CES letter, which is cesletter.org, when they sent that to me, I read that. It was like at the time, it was like an 80-page something essay document by a guy that was struggling with shelf-breaking items like me, and his name was Jeremy Reynolds. And after I read that, I turned to my wife, who was reading it with me, and we just said, we're done. We went down that rabbit hole. And for the next year, probably 18 months, it was so bad that I became part of an Reddit Exmo forum site to cope with trying to live my life or come to the realization that I've lived my life as a lie. That everything that I thought I believed in all the way up until I was almost 40 years old was a lie. And dude, that's a humbling, very, very humbling experience, right? Like, when you think you know what's up and then realize that this is just a sham.
Yeah, I have to be 100% honest. When I booked you, the reason that I booked you was religion has come up on this show a lot. I mean, and it really has no business coming up on this show so much. But myself and Landon thought, let's do a religious show. And what's interesting about you, Jay, is that you were a Mormon, and that's a church that a lot of people don't necessarily comprehend. And I was thinking to myself, myself and Landon can call out Christianity, we can call out Catholicism, but they're all the same. And I wanted to bring someone on who is completely out of left field, who experienced the same thing that so many of us in other religions and fields had experienced. And it's heartbreaking to hear somebody say that the first 40 years of their life was a lie, but you've adjusted so well, and I'm sure that's in a huge part to the fact that you have a lovely family.
Never been happier, by the way. Now, now that I've been out of that, like, one of the things that they would tell you is that if you leave the church, like, one of their fear tactics that they instill in people, the brainwashing, the brainwash tactics that they fill you with is that if you leave the church, you're going to be so unhappy and you're not going to be successful, and you're not going to be able to move on with your life, and
you're going
all
to
this
hell.
stuff. And ever since I left, I've never been happy.
Right.
But I think it's important to mention, and in your mind, you left late, and you have a lot of loved ones, you have a lot of friends who haven't had their eyes opened.
Mm-hmm. My in-laws are still active. They live a block from me, and I see them. I take care of them. They're older now.
Mm-hmm.
And, I thought that they would be so disappointed and so sad. And that I lost my dad a few years ago, 3 years ago. And my mom's still active in the church. She's a sweetheart. She's a lady that's always quilting and donating her quilts to all the kids of her ward and the needy and all this. I mean, she's an amazing, she's the only woman that I know that's guileless. She's a guileless woman. She'd do anything for anyone, almost to the point where she would be taken advantage of. And I thought that she would be disappointed with me, and what I've really appreciated is that when I share my journey with other people, it's either, wow, they respect that, or their shelf that's already been cracked is wanting more info to help them cope with where they're currently at in their spiritual journey.
I mean, if you look at it, your process and the process that a lot of folks like you have left or been excommunicated, after your shelf break, you're kind of reversing the damages of.
Oh no. It looks like I lost everybody. I'm gonna jump out, push them out, and see if they'll come back in. What the hell? Sorry guys, hold on 1 second. We're gonna try this again.
That you're doing the opposite. So while these guys are going door to door, Landon, I'm sure we lost some audio there.
Yeah, everything went black on my side, but we're good now.
Okay, then just so everyone's on the same page, I basically had said that he is doing what the church had done to fix their damages. He's going to people and talking about his experiences, and he's hoping to break those shelves, while the church is hoping to build those shelves up high, man. And I think that's probably where the respect comes from.
Well, there is a lot of respect there, and I am not, probably 5 years ago, if had I done this 5 or 10 years ago, I would have been pretty far out there. Like people would have been like, man, this guy's crazy. Like, I don't want to listen to him. But it's a crazy time right now in the sense that the church is losing members because of this cesletter.org. And I challenge anyone that's struggling in the Mormon faith, if you want more information about what I'm talking about, I have no affiliation with Jeremy in this, but it's called the CES Letter Foundation. It's cesletter.org. Go and check it out. It'll pose all the questions that I came up against and answers to those, and really help you take that first step in that journey and go down that road. But there's so many people that have millions now that have found this, and have found people like me, that we formed a bond, and now we're teaming up, and the church is losing members by the thousands now. I mean, literally, like, it's a wave, it's a movement. And I think a lot of that is too because of the LGBT, and the gay community out there too. I mean, that's been a bad deal for the church, like the way that they have treated the gay and lesbian community out, in the church, with the suicide rate out here when kids come out or find out that they're gay, and then they hear the church's stance on it. It was a real issue. And so the churches had to change their stance on a lot of things, even at the college level out here, to accommodate for these types of things. And it's getting a little bit better, but people are realizing the church for what it's become, and they're leaving in droves. And so that's good. And when I got on to Reddit to seek out other people that were experiencing the same things that I was seeking out or going through, the membership on that little Reddit community was like small. It was like less than 5,000 people. Now you get on there. I haven't been on there because I'm over this. I've been over this for several years now. But now if I got on there, it's huge. I mean, it's blowing up, and the memes and stuff that are coming out there, and people showing photos of where they're at now in their lives and how happy they are and how they've gotten over these things that were crushing them in their life. It's amazing, and it makes me feel really good that people are seeing light at the end of the tunnel. And like I would tell anyone, just get through the fog, man. Like I said, my religion, people will ask me, well, what is your religion? And, do you believe in God? And someone asked me that. My wife asked me that the other day. She's like, do you believe in God, Jay? And I was like, that's a really good question, babe. What do you think? And we have these deep conversations, and, I can't call myself an atheist because I don't want to be an atheist. Like, I have hope. I told you this. I have hope that there is something in this next life. I want there to be. I want to be with my loved ones. I want to see my dad again. I want to see my friends that I've lost. I want to see them. I love my kids, and it's hard to describe the love that you have for your own flesh and blood until you become a parent. But like, you want to live forever with them. I mean, who wouldn't want that? I mean, I guess some people may not want that, but for me, I hope that like I can see these people again, and that I'm not just going into the ground. And so when someone says to me like there is no God, I'm like, okay, I can buy that. But why do you have to live your life in a way where, my take is if you're a good person and you live your life in accordance with what a God or a superior being would want you to do, by being kind and genuinely trying to help other people out, not being a dick, then if there is a God, then hopefully he'll give you the pass.
Yep.
He'll reach the hand out and say, you know what, man, you did a good job. Like, you were a good dude. And I remember that time that you helped that guy out. Or I remember the words of encouragement, you gave to this person that needed it, in their life. And then if there isn't a God and we go into the ground and that's it, well, hopefully you lived your life to leave a legacy of some sort where someone can remember you by being a cool ass dude, right? And share stories about you. And hopefully that lives on for however long it's going to live on and is passed down through technology, maybe. I mean, what is wrong with that? Living your life that way. And for me, since I've done that, I've been a much, much happier person.
I have to be 100% honest, and I think Landon will agree with me. I don't think there's any better way to end the show.
Yeah, I'm sitting here thinking, dude, and I'm like, you put it so clearly. I mean, there's a lot of things I wanted to touch on there that, there's a lot of people that are in, the LDS Church or many other religions that just don't see the light at the end of the tunnel, like you said, or don't feel like they have, if they were to leave what they have now, they have no one they can turn to. And there are groups out there that you can help. I know one that I've pushed on this show before is Freedom from Religion Foundation. So freedomfromreligion.org, where you can talk to people that have more of these secular, ideas and things like that. You just killed it right there with that, though. So
yeah, I think everybody got emotional, family.
Yeah.
This had
Oh, dude.
I mean,
I'm just, and if there's anyone out there that's watching this podcast, and I don't know how, who's viewing it or if there's questions or anything out there, but like, if I can be of assistance, if my own personal journey in any way, shape, or form, any question, it's not off limits, like, reach out to me, reach out to me. I can leave my contact info. Love, I would say this. There's a great song by Ziggy Marley, and you guys can go and you can go and pull that up. It's called "Love Is My Religion," and you go watch that video, and he nails it. He's spot on with that. And I'm not a Rastafarian, but Eli Selassie Jah Rastafari, right? I'm not no Rasta, but he nails it in that video. Love love. If you know, the simple act of holding up a door for someone that needs it, for letting someone in the car lane in front of you, you know, a simple wave or a smile. You never know what someone's going through, and that can make a person's day. And you never know. Maybe there is a man upstairs, and maybe he remembers that.
Appreciate that. I think that you know, I have to step on my soapbox here for a second, because I think it makes sense for me to kind of talk as a friend of Jay, and speak for one of our other friends who did watch our show, Jay. So I'll start off with John. John says we all love you, and Jay, we do all love you.
Yeah.
So I want to thank you for coming on the show. I also want to thank you, John, for watching. On top of that, I've taken a lot of shit on this show, as you know, Landon. But I think two things are certain. Number one, as an interviewer, I don't take a back seat to anybody. And I've never been more proud to be the booker.
Yeah, man. Jay, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Oh, thanks, you guys. I appreciate it. This has been fun. I feel bad that I didn't get to talk to you guys more about your experiences and what you guys have been going through.
That's episode 2.
Maybe that's for another show.
Yeah, man. Listen, there are a lot of shows we can do and a lot of different rabbit holes we can go under, Jay. We don't want to take up too much of your time.
I'm good.
And
but yeah,
well, do
thank
you
you.
want to keep rolling?
What's that?
Do you want to keep rolling, Jay?
Oh, if you guys want to keep rolling, dude, hey, if you guys got the time, I've got the time. I you know, hey, I'd be normally playing some Destiny right now and unwinding. You know, it's either that I'd be trying to score with the lady upstairs, but she's busy right now, so she's probably she's with the kiddo. So
Never lost
I don't think that's gonna happen. But yeah, if you guys want to keep rolling,
Landon,
keep rolling.
your call. Do you want to keep rolling? I know you have MJ, and she's, you know, you're.
Yeah, she's asleep. I'm good. There was actually a couple things that I wanted to touch on there. You know, one of the things that you mentioned, you know, in one of your little closing statements there was that how everybody would want to spend time with their family forever and in this heaven, and that's such a great idea. I think it's an interesting concept, though, to think about. You know, what if we didn't have that belief? Would we treat people in this life better? Would we cherish those moments more than what we do now? So, you know, that's one between hell and people, you know, wanting to spend time with their loved ones that they miss and stuff. I think those are the two big, you know, anchors that hold people into their religion. And it's one of those things, like if we could take that out and just realize we need to be present in this life and treat people right now, you know, if it comes to be that there is a God, which I personally, I am not convinced that a God exists, and that's my definition of atheism. So I'm an atheist in that regard.
Right.
But if there is a God, if just like you said, you treat people right, how can He punish you for, you know, for laying out a plan that you can't understand to begin with, and then punish you for eternity for it? If somebody is going to punish you for eternity for not understanding a plan that wasn't really clear, I don't want to worship a God like that. I don't want to. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I got a question for you, Landon.
Sure.
And because you're more, I think if you're an atheist, the question I have is, see, the thing that I struggle with atheism is that there's this moral conviction or compass that drives a lot of people. Some people call it godly sorrow. Some people call it guilt. I think that as an atheist, a lot of people throw down on atheists and say, well, because you're an atheist, you don't feel that godly guilt, and so it's easier to go out and cheat on someone or do things that might go against religious moral convictions. And I don't buy into that, because I have a lot of atheist friends that are the salt of, like I said, the salt of the earth. They're great people. But you know, has that ever been an issue for you without believing in that, or being driven to believe that there is a superior being? Is it easier for you to do certain things morally? You know, I know that's kind of a personal question, but just wondering.
Yeah, no, you know, a lot of people think that morality only comes from God or from these religions and things. And this is kind of the way that I look at it. I'm gonna try and phrase this without sounding stupid, but if I were to create a world, I look at it as if I were the one that was creating this world. I want to treat people and create a scenario that no matter where I get put into that world, whether I'm a black or I'm a gay or I'm a Mexican or whatever, that it's going to benefit me either way. So I think, it just generally being good to everyone, letting everybody do their own thing. I don't care what half these people, if you want to do whatever, it doesn't bother me. You know what I mean? But to put these different, rules and laws and that harm people, what if you were in that person's shoe? You know what I mean? What if you were not the decently wealthy person and you were living in slums somewhere? You know what I mean? So that's just kind of how I look at the world. I want to be in a situation where no matter what route I would have taken or, where I would have shown up, that, people would take care of me, and I try to take care of people as well. And I just don't think that you need religion for that. I think you're a good testament to this, that there's good people out there and you can be good, and all these good things that come from religion are actually things that just come from people and have nothing to do with the religion. We can do all that without religion.
I normally take the high road on these things and don't talk about my thoughts, because I feel like there needs to be someone on the show that's of equal footing with, neutralism. But I'd like to give my opinion, and then I'd like to tell my
I'd love
story.
to hear it. Yeah, I'd love to hear it.
Landon, I'm going to say something that you're going to agree with more than you've ever agreed with me. Since when has religion taught morality? Morality is human nature. Having morals, having a conscience, having good and evil is human culture. That is what we do. We are built that way. We are wired that way. Some people, they're wired the wrong way, and they don't have that. They don't have conscience. They don't have morals. I can stand here as someone who doesn't necessarily believe in a God and tell you that I have morals and I do the right thing when I feel like it's right, and you just try your fucking damnedest. But of all of the religious writings that I've seen, the people who are tempting the most, the people who are sinning the most, are the people who are written about in these religious books. The people who are sinning the most are the people who are teaching these religious books. How dare any of these people tell me that I'm going to hell because I have a tattoo, but within their own organization, hundreds of thousands of children are being harassed and sexually assaulted each year.
Beaten and abused.
That's my philosophy. Now, if you guys wouldn't mind, I'd like to tell my story.
Yeah.
Because I was never a part of a church, but I did try to do the right thing. When I was 13 years old, and a year later when I was 14 years old, I went on a mission project known as the Appalachia Service Project. Your goal is to make sure that the residents of Appalachia are warmer, safer, and drier. The first year that I went down, we were in West Virginia. We were high on a mountain, and all the family had was a trailer that didn't have a floor, or where it did have a floor, it was falling in, and a lot of land. That's all they had. But they had two homes right next to each other. One was the aunt and one was the sister. That's what it was. And they had a lot of land. And I remember going up there and I remember talking to these people because, see, that was my job. And the way that ASP works is you get to your site on Saturday, or on Sunday rather. Then you have what they call Mosey Monday. So it's just your day to get to know the group, the families and the people around you. And then the rest of the week, you're working in the daytime, well, from the morning to the daytime. And when you get home, it's all sorts of religious pandering. So I, being someone who wasn't religious, could never understand the idea of gathering and preaching and all of that. I just never liked it. It seemed like something to me that should be optional. It seemed like something to me that we shouldn't force on people. Them waking me up at 5 a.m. with a fucking blowhorn is fine. That's A-okay. But don't tell me that by 5:30 I have to be outside in the parking lot to hold hands with strangers and talk about shepherds and leading horses and all sorts of weird shit, because I don't know the first thing about that. But what I do know is the first thing about trying to help people be warmer, safer, and drier. And what I do know is to try to talk to these people and understand their situation and ask them, hey, what happened? Why are we here? That's what I wanted to know. I didn't give a fuck about anything else. I wanted to help these people. I wanted to speak with these people, and I wanted these people to be left knowing, first off, that our goal had been met, but also to know that they're loved and accepted like everybody else. Because what I learned when I was in West Virginia, and even more so when I get to the next year in Kentucky, was a lot of these people with nothing are the first to give.
Wow, isn't that the truth though?
So
And-
true.
Isn't that the truth? The person that has nothing is always giving everything on their back to anyone that needs it. How many
When-
times have we seen that?
Yeah, the day that we left, the last day we had worked, which I'm getting slightly ahead of myself and I'll backtrack in just a minute. The day we left, they bought us 3 watermelons and a cake. And this family, like I said, they didn't have a floor. I mean, you know, they shouldn't have spent that money. And it was funny that they were so kind. The woman was a bearded lady. The guy had been a 70-year-old man that was still working. And they took in a young girl who was a part of their family, and they wanted to thank us, and they thanked us with a prayer and with these gifts. And see, that's a time that I think prayer is okay. Prayer is okay if it's an appreciation. I think that's okay. I'm not going to tell you it's not. But let me backtrack a little bit. Remember when I said our goal is to make sure these people's dreams comes true? Well, my job when I started working around day 3 was to scratch off the old paint and repaint the trailer. When you're working on these people's homes, they get to make certain requests. They get to request colors of paint, types of wood, things like that. They requested a white trailer with a red trim. We were given white and white. So I talked to the project manager. Now, the project managers are 4 counselors that are 18 years old, and they have a sob story like you wouldn't believe. They do it on purpose so these people can sit around and tell you their sob story and how God saved them, and hopefully everybody's rejoicing in the tears of the fallen, whatever the fuck we're supposed to be doing at these gatherings. And I have what I have, and I say, listen, this isn't right. They wanted red paint. And the project manager said, well, they'll just have to make do. I said, but they're not even here for me to ask, because they would leave during the day while we were working. They didn't want to be in the way. You know, they felt like a burden.
Mm-hmm.
And so I couldn't ask them if it was okay. So I started painting. And when the guy got back, he said, you know, there must be a problem. We asked for red. And, you know, at 13 years old, you see heartbreak in a man's face because he thought he was getting what he wanted and he didn't.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I robbed him of his dream. And when I went back to where we were staying, I went up to the project manager and I said, hey, why couldn't we get the paint? And he said, well, we don't have the budget for red paint. The church doesn't have the budget? Like, that to me was heartbreaking. So the next year we go to Kentucky and we're working on a lady's house. This lady has witnessed 2 people whom she loved commit suicide in front of her. One was her uncle. The next was her fiance. She lived in a rattlesnake infested, rat infested home
Man.
with her and her dog puppy. Her parents lived in a much better, well-kept trailer next door. She had been through a lot mentally. She was a very kind lady and a sweetheart of a woman. And when you go on these kinds of projects, they tell you, make sure that, you know, you're working, make sure you're doing what you're supposed to be there. But in my heart, I had to talk to this lady. I had to help her feel comfort because she hadn't. It was her and her dog, and she was, you could just tell she was heartbroken. And for the entire week, we went through pictures together. I talked to her every day. She was telling me all sorts of experiences that have happened to her, and she had told me the sadder experiences as well. One of the project managers came back to me when we were at base and said, "Hey, I noticed you've been talking to the homeowner a lot. Why doesn't your group have you doing anything?" I said, "Well, myself and my group think it's best if somebody talks to our homeowner. She's a pretty hurt lady, and we think it'll do a lot of good." Well, just remember, we're here to build homes, not build smiles. And I remember the day we left that lady, and she gave me a huge hug, and she said, "Thank you for talking to me all week." Because she had known that I had gotten in trouble, because the next day they had me working on building the porch, and I built a porch in one day myself. And then the rest of the week I said, "I'm done. I'm going to talk to this lady." When we left, she gave me a big hug, and I remembered she said that she had mentioned needing a toilet seat because her toilet didn't have a seat. It was just the bowl. And I said, before we left, I said, I would like for us to go and get this woman a toilet seat. And everybody on my group thought that was a great idea. So we came back with a heated toilet seat for this lady. Just a luxury that she hadn't been able to afford. And I remember at base, the last discussion that I had made a joke. And I don't remember the joke, what the joke was about, but I'm sure it was something juvenile, dick, piss, or shit, I don't know. And one of the priests or pastors, ironically enough, the one that I rode up with, looked at me and said, "It embarrasses me that you're here with us." Wow. And on the car ride back, all I could think about was, I did my duty. How many of these guys could say that they did? And that's why I don't believe in religion. I've never said I don't believe in a God. I've said I don't believe in God the way regular people do. I don't believe in religion. I don't believe in the concept. I believe in being a good person. That's my segment.
And you know what's so beautiful about that story, Dillan, is that how do you know that you weren't a savior to that particular person at that moment in their life? That could have been a life-altering moment, not just for her, but also for you as a person. I can see that you're a lot like me, where you wear your heart on the outside of your sleeves, and that has defined you as a person. That story that you shared, that's a big part of your life and the way that you live your life. And for that woman, that could have been a life-altering moment for her. And that's what I'm getting with. Like, it's hard for me to believe that a superior being would just put us down here to just play with us, just as pawns. If there is a higher purpose, it's there for a reason, and we won't know until we know. And like the thing that I appreciated about your experience so much is that it's those little moments that are huge moments in people's lives that defined us as human beings. And that's where that ripple effect comes into play. I'm a huge believer in the ripple effect. What you do affects others, and it's going to affect them either positively or negatively, one way or the other.
I was a 14-year-old kid, 13 the first year, 14 the second year. The second year, we had a custodial staff and a cooking staff, which the prior year we had not had. See, people don't realize that the budget for us to be fed is way less than the budget for like what we're working on, and even that budget isn't much. All right, they couldn't afford the extra $10 for red paint. I knew we were in a very broken part of Kentucky. And at 14 years old, I went and I asked one of the other pastors that had been there, who was a very kind man. His name was Ken. And I asked him for a piece of paper from the journal that he had always been writing in. And he said, "What for?" I said, "I'd like to write a letter of appreciation to the staff here." And he said, "Give me a second." And he reached into his bag and pulled out a thank you card. And he said, "I write it every year, but I think you should." And he had a gift card with it. And so I was able to write a gift card, or write out the thank you card to all of these lovely folks who had fed us for a week, and present them with their gift cards. And when I tell you, man, these people weren't even the people we were helping. But just us saying thank you, just us taking the time to say thank you, nobody had ever done that for them before. And I'm thinking to myself, you have to thank the people who are there helping you. Don't just thank each other. Oh, don't pat yourself on the back. Oh man, I'm doing the right thing. Thank the people who are there, who are living in some of the same habitat, and they're still selfless enough to be here and assist others. Those are the people that you should thank. And I was so honored to be able to do that. And
That's amazing.
Thank you, Jay, for
Yeah.
your kind words.
A challenge to your listeners, and a challenge to everybody. I think that anyone and I can honestly say that the times that I've been the unhappiest in my life, the easiest way I've been able to correct that is by doing something for somebody else. Like just and not for any recognition of any kind. I'll just share one little quick story that's defined me as a person, and how not to pat myself on the back, but how it was reciprocated, how much of an impact it had on me. And that was, I was at a Texas Roadhouse about 5 years ago, and I was sitting in there, and I was with my father-in-law, and my father-in-law is a crotchety old dude. Now he just turned 80. We're doing his party next weekend at the clubhouse for him, at his clubhouse, and we're inviting the family and everything. And as he's gotten older in his years, he is a Mormon going fuck yeller. Like, that dude can drop the F-bomb at like the best times, it's just like, holy shit, this guy's a temple worker, yet he can drop the fuck bomb whenever he wants, and it's funny. Thursday at Briggs football game that we were at, he had to leave the game early because he was just screaming at the refs, going off. And I just was laughing, that's Padre. Well, what I'm getting at is that, this guy, as he's gotten older in his years, and I've seen, I've seen what religion has done to him as a temple worker, and his convictions. When I've been able to have conversations with him, one of the things I asked him is, I said, why do you believe in what you believe in? And a lot of it is culture. You get people that will live their entire life, right, living a certain way because they don't know any better. They don't know any better. And he said, it makes me feel good. It makes me feel good to do this. And anyway, I just wanted to give you guys a heads up that we were in this Texas Roadhouse with him, and he walked in, and he's a big football guy, and he likes to TiVo all these big football games, and up on the corner of the screen is one of the football games, and he tells us while we're sitting down at the table, don't tell me the score, it wasn't on. They're just flashing the scores up. He's like, I'm TiVoing all this. I'm recording all of it. Well, right next to us was some Boise State fans. and it was Boise State was playing one of the teams, and they were asking, they were in from Boise. They were asking, "Are you Brigham Young fans?" You know, because they were in for the game, and I was like, "Hell no, I'm a University of Utah football fan. I'm not down for the Y." And they're like, "Good," and we started chopping it up. Well, one of these guys blurted out one of the Alabama scores for the football game, and my father-in-law lost his shit at the table and had a meltdown. And they felt so bad that when they ended up leaving, the waitress, the server at the time, came up, and I went to pay the bill. I was going to grab the bill, and she's like, "Oh, no need. The bill's been taken care of." And I said, "What do you mean?" And, and we had our entire family there celebrating a birthday. We must have had 10, 12 people there. The bill was rather large. And she's like, "Oh, yeah, your friends next to you took care of the bill." And she's like, "Mind you, they gave me a healthy tip. Like, it was very generous." And I was like, I don't know those guys. And it really took me back that these guys paid this bill. And then on the receipt, she's like, "Oh, they left you a message." And it said, "Go BYU," or whatever. It said something on there like, blah, 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 blah. And like, "Hey, I'm sorry." And like, and he's like, it had like a little personal note on it. And I was so taken back by that I convinced the server at the time to try and give me the name on the credit card to where I could vet this guy out on social media and try and thank him, because I had to say thank you to him. I never found this guy. And I searched for days and days to try and find this dude who was a medical student at Boise State so that I could just repay a thank you. And what I learned from that lesson is that he just did a cool thing, and it made me feel really good. And when I was out in California, I now have started this thing, like whenever I'm out and I'm with somebody, if I can at the time, like I'll just take care of someone's bill without them knowing about it. Not because, and I'll leave before they can even know that I've done it and thank me, just so that I can leave that person with some sort of token of like, hey, I enjoyed like the last time I did it, I moved, we were out in California, went into this nice little bar, had some incredible food, and this couple right next to me carried on a beautiful conversation about how they were there and what brought them there. And I had my son, that we were visiting in the Corps with his good friend that's stationed out there at Miramar. And like I told the server, I said, the bartender, I said, "Hey, bring me their bill, but don't tell them I'm doing this." She's like, "They have a lot of alcohol on the tab." And I said, "Hey, just bring me the bill. I want to take care of it." She's like, "You sure?" And I said, "Yeah, just give me the bill." So I took care of the bill, and I just left them a little note that said, "Thank you for your time. I enjoyed your stories. Good luck." And I wrote that on the thing, and I told her, "Don't give this to them until we're clearly out." And she's just like, she was taken back by that. Mm-hmm. And my son, I'll never forget, when I was walking down the street afterwards, when we got out of that, and I'm like, "Harry, let's get out of here before they know." My son asked me, he's like, "Why did you do that, Dad? Why did you do that?" And I said, "Because it makes me feel good. And you don't know what their story is. And maybe that person will go out and do that. And if it's not them, maybe the server saw that. And when she goes home at night, she shares that story with her kid or with her husband or her man or her best friend. And they go out and is like, you know what? This dude came in and did this. I'm going to try it." Mm-hmm. And that's how the world goes around. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's where love, that's the religion, right? We need more of that.
Yeah, we need more of that. And
you know what I'm saying?
I have a similar story to what your son experienced, because when I was a bit younger, I was at a restaurant with my mom and my dad, and my dad always orders steak. My father is 70 years old, a very old school man, very, very red dirt America. He's worked in a mill his entire life, the steel mills, and
he's blue collar, man.
When we left, when we were leaving, my mother being a saint. See, my father doesn't think to thank people and appreciate people. He's a hard worker, but because of that, that's not the first thought in his head. But my mother stopped, and she went to one of the waiters, and she said, "I'd like you to have the cook come here." And immediately with these people here, that red flag is going up. This lady's going to be a Karen. She's going to be bitching. And my mother just goes, I want you to know that my husband said that that was the best steak he's ever had. And it just melted in his mouth. And I'm looking at my mom like, what the fuck are you? You're wasting this man's time. And we were leaving and I go, why'd you do that, Ma? She goes, all these people here is people bitching. And they never hear anything good. And Landon, I know that probably hits home with you, but you know, the thing about that's hysterical to me is to this day, if you put my mother on the phone with anybody on the phone, she's screaming up a storm, fuck you, like English, give me English, you know. But just in that moment, man, it was the most pure thing I'd ever seen my mother do.
It's great. It's great.
Landon, yeah.
Right? How can you not walk away from this podcast with stories like this, not feeling better about yourself and what you're going to do, with the opportunities that you have to do it. Like, I know walking out of this experience with the two of you, that I'm going to be looking for more opportunities to make, and maybe that's selfish. Maybe that's even wrong for me to say I'm doing it because I feel good.
So you're
right,
like, doing it, yeah.
But that's what you know, that's what gets me off, right? Is feeling good like that. And like I said, if anyone's struggling with depression, and I've gone through some deep depressions, the way out of that funk has been to forget about myself and try and focus on other individuals that might be in a rough spot and help me get out of that rough spot at the same time by doing something good for them. That's why, you know, John and all those guys that rage a little bit that are playing our game, if he's still online, fellas. That's why I'm always the dude that's trying to laugh, to try and make it better, because that's just in my human nature, because I feel good doing that kind of stuff, you know?
You know, Landon, I'm looking at you, and this has been, I've seen you pissed off on this show, but I've never seen you, first off, this quiet. And secondly, you're really touched by Jay.
Dude. Yeah, man, this has been good. I needed this.
Well, I'm happy.
Good,
like
dude.
I said, I've never been happier to be the booker on a show. Listen, I've done a lot of bitching on a lot of different shows, and I've hated the shows that I've done a lot of times. There's truthfully, over the hundreds of shows I've done, there's probably only 3 that really resonate with me, and this one, man, just jumps to the top of that list. And I'm glad, Landon, that you had this happen with you. This really is, we're 3 very emotional groups.
Dude, like I said, I told you, I warned you, I'm an emotional guy. I wear my sleeve,
and
on
you
the
know
outside.
I am too.
But yeah.
The thing
that is what it's all about, dudes. It's this right here. It's making an impact in someone's life. That's the goal.
And
right?
you know,
that is what, if everybody could just take a sliver of this moment and try and do their best to pass that message along, right? Wouldn't it be such a better place? But it's caught up in, I mean, this world right now, it's so hard to live in it right now, right? Like, you know, we're told to be confined. You know, everybody's hiding behind a mask, and I get the health concerns behind certain things. And listen, I'm not here to get into what's right or wrong. I'm just saying it's hard. It is hard, and for people to be caught up in this day and age right now, like I just dropped my daughter off at college, and I'm laughing because she's been texting home and FaceTiming every 5 seconds, and I told her the whole time, I was like, baby, I don't want you to leave. I don't want you to leave. Like, don't leave. Don't sign a 9-month lease. I you know, this is going to backfire, because I'm selfish, because I'm the dad, not wanting my daughter to leave, knowing that she should leave, that she needs to get out on her own and learn all this for herself and find her own person in all of this. And she's calling home every day. And what's so beautiful is that she is 18, almost, you know, she's 18. around the same time that I was struggling. And now I can be that figure in her life to give her everything that I needed at that time. That I didn't have from someone, that I've been able to learn from my own journey and my own mistakes, that I can pass this on to her, and hopefully she can then be that same person that might touch someone else's life. So anyway, it's I mean, like, this whole thing has come full circle. It's amazing.
It's funny. The show originally was supposed to be more or less me keeping Landon calm because he's going to be screaming about what they write about the Bible and the Scripture, and it became an interview with you, Jay, where we talk about your religious experiences, and then it became. You are looking at 3 generations here. You have an older man, Jay, no offense, I love you.
Mm-hmm.
You have a mid-man, and you have a young man. You know, Jay's probably, what, 40-something?
45.
Landon's almost 30. I'm right in those
21.
20s. Yeah, I'll be 21 in December. You're looking
You're
at
a young pup, dude.
3 generations of people who... Listen, man, all have had different levels of shit in their life, but the one thing we all have in common, the one thing we're neutral on, is that we all have gigantic hearts, and we just want to share happiness. We do. Listen, and this is, I know. First, I know everybody hates when I talk on this show, so people are probably pissed. Landon, have they been dropping like flies yet?
This is actually the most we've had all night, is where we're at right now. So
Great, but you know, we're breaking character here. But I just have to say, like, for as much as myself and Landon bitch about things, we do want you guys to know we love you, and you know, it's very important for us to be able to come on these shows and try to make you guys laugh and smile. And this was a way more serious show than we've done. But we wanted to take you guys through our progress of growth. And I know Landon hasn't talked about his experience, but that's just because he's talked about it so many times that he feels like he shouldn't have to. So, you know, I guess, Jay, do you have anything else?
Yeah, I just, like, I just appreciate being on the show, and like, you know, your audience, that's amazing. Like, if all 3 of us talking about, you know, a topic that wars have been created over, that bloodshed has been spilt over, like, you know, like I said, religion has corrupted many and killed many and divided countries, and to this day has done, I think, more harm than good. If, like I said, if we all just take a step back and respect people for who they are, and love people genuinely, like, whether they're black, white, gay, you know, straight, whatever it is, whatever you're into, if you just love people and look, like my dad always used to say, and my dad wasn't the best man. I have a lot of issues with my man, but one thing that my old man would say to me is, focus on the good in someone. Like, rather than trying to bring someone down or tear someone down, look at the best qualities in someone. And if you can do that and you can see past everyone else's flaws, then hopefully you'll become a better person in the process. You can't get to the top without bringing other people to the top with you, right? I learned that early on. You can't be successful in this life unless people are going to help you get you there. And in the process, doing it together, that's when you become successful, right? And I get discouraged at times because I feel like I'm too nice sometimes to people. Like, my wife will be like, "Yeah, you're getting taken advantage of. You're getting shit on." And you know what? I sleep better at night.
Yeah.
Right? I sleep better at night. That's on them, you know? So hey guys, this has been a pleasure. I love the fact that you brought me on. I feel better. And if you ever want me on the show again, you just call
dude,
me,
you are
listen,
man, you're welcome. I'm just gonna send you a link sometimes.
Right.
Be like, yo, if you're free,
we'll talk about anything you want.
Oh, I know. You listen. This is a conspiracy guy. This is a guy who has he has more knowledge in his little finger than I have in my body. Jay is absolutely brilliant.
I disagree, dude. You are a very intelligent man.
We do have a caller on the line. I want to take this call real quick.
Go ahead.
Caller, go ahead.
Well, hello, boys. It's been nice to listen to you guys talk.
John!
This is. Jay, love you. You're like a
You're a
brother
good
to me,
dude.
Dylan. You know how I feel about you. I just want to say that this show was great. You guys are amazing. I love listening to you talk, whether I give you shit all the time or whatever. Appreciate you guys doing this. It was fun to listen to. Like I said, Jay, I've known you for a while. I've played games with you, and we've raged together, and we played and talked and all this shit for a while now, and it feels like I've known you forever. But I didn't know that you had went through this whole thing before. So it was nice to sit here and listen to you talk and give your backstory on it. It was amazing, and it was good. I appreciate it. You guys did a great job.
You're a good dude. You're a good dude, my friend. And I appreciate our relationship. It's amazing how a community of dudes coming together to play a game that most would consider to be like an adolescent thing. Like I'm a 45-year-old like grandpa, right? They call me the boomer in the party, right? And I'm like, shit, I'm not that old. Boomers are like in their 60s and 70s, right?
He gets so pissed.
I'm a Gen Xer, man. Why are you calling me a boomer? But hey, it's amazing to play games online and be a part of podcasts like this and get to know people from different parts of the country and all come together. And you know what? Like, I wouldn't take it back for anything, man. This is true happiness, right? Like, had I not been playing Destiny or on Xbox Live or doing my thing to release from the 9 to 5 or 8 to 5 grind that I go through every day and all the ups and downs, I would have never met you guys.
Yeah.
Right. And our paths crossed, and look at the conversations that we're having and how we can impact other people's lives over a silly game that we've played. And I think personally, I want to believe that there's a higher purpose to that, whether it's just being a good dude or there's something higher. I'll never know. But what I do know is that we all feel good about what we share with each other. And that is going to get passed on and rubbed off on someone else. And that is how you make a difference. That is how you make a difference.
Jay's a father figure to everybody, man. And Jay, we do, I know John said, but we do love you. And, you're an old man. You're a little grouchy sometimes, but we wouldn't have it any other way.
All, though?
I'm pretty sure he's called you a boomer in the chat about 12 times.
Landon, I think we have to do a second ad read, buddy. Do you think you can muster it up?
No, who's that? John on the phone? John, thank you for your call so much, man. We actually have one more call here. Let's take this. 765 number. Go ahead. You're on the air. Hello, are you there?
Hello?
Yes,
Hi.
You're on the air.
Hey, this is Tyler. Wrath T.
Wraith of T? Tony?
Wrath.
Wrath of T. He just dropped
seems
out.
to have disconnected.
Tyler.
Yeah.
Tyler.
That was T. They're all watching. Listen,
Nice.
man, I didn't know that
he's
they
still
were
on
all
here. Hold on. It sounds like he's still on here. Are you there?
Just want to say I love you guys.
Tyler's a good
We
dude.
love you too, man.
Big little brother.
We're all gonna
You're like
cry.
my father, but also a brother.
We love you too, buddy.
Tyler, dude. I like I said, man. I consider you guys fam. I mean, we share a lot of, conversations late at night, and like I said, I hope that I can be an impact in anyone's life. And because I want to say that you are for me. Like, I don't know how to get through the day sometimes without jumping on and hoping that some of you guys are there, whether it's I'm having a good day or a bad day. It really has been an amazing journey for me over the last couple of years, and even more so this last year, to be able to have regular dudes that I can just talk to about anything. And it can be any conversation, any topic, nothing's off limits, and just be myself and be genuine. Like, right? Like that's so amazing.
I have to say something, Jay, because you're playing it up, and you have a great poker face, but your daughter just went to college. You have a boy who recently went to the military. You have two kids who have left the flock in a short period of
Hard,
time,
very hard.
and I know that that's hard for you. And I think that I speak for those of us that all play together and hang out and whatnot when I say, like, if we can just for a short period of time, maybe just a little bit, add some laughter to your day that has been taken, that it's worth it for us.
Well, I know JT, John,
Yeah.
and I don't know if I'm even allowed to use that name. I hope I'm close enough where I can use that name with to Tyler. But today, my wife made chicken, and it was so damn good. And I turned to her and I winked and I said, "Girl, get you something good to eat." And the whole family, I'm getting emotional saying it, the whole damn family bursted out in laughter during a hard time when I have a dude fighting a war that is pointless, and a daughter that's gone right now. And the whole family just busted out in laughter. And I thought of John. And I was like, had he not said that to me, that's in the books forever. Girl, get you something good to eat. And she just started laughing, and I just was like, I thought of John Tyler, and I thought, man, this dude has made me laugh more than he even knows. And one of these days we'll be able to cross paths in life, like hopefully you're rolling through the crib or whatever. And I'm waiting for that day when he comes through the door and he says, "Girl, get you something good to eat," because I will record it. The moment it happens. I'll play that over and over again.
And I'll be right behind him saying, "Honey, I'm home."
So
It'll be great.
Oh, so funny, man.
It'll
She's
be
just like
great.
you guys. She's just like she's antisocial, doesn't like to get out. And whenever I talk with her about some of the stuff, she just shakes her head. She's
like, "What the hell are you assholes doing?"
She's just like, "You guys are crazy.
Jay,
You guys are crazy."
Jay goes up to bed late. She goes, "What are you doing?" He
She's
goes,
asleep.
Me and
She's
Quincy.
asleep. Most of the time she's asleep, man.
He goes,
she's got to get up early.
He goes, "Oh, me and Quincy were just talking about, conspiracies, John F. Kennedy, child sex cult, the usual."
Oh, we were just talking about your JFK article.
Oh,
We were just talking about your JFK article, and I was just like, man, you should see this in-depth research that this dude has presented. I mean, like, you ought to read this stuff. This is good stuff.
I was 16 when I put that together, and I wish I would go through and redo it, but
Good
I
stuff.
didn't have the time.
But anyway, but yeah, you guys, I'm not just saying it. I'm not playing it up. I mean, you guys have an impact in my life, and that's I appreciate that, because like I said, make no mistake, I have the same ups and downs that many of you have. I have the same trials, the same struggles, and sometimes I feel like they're amplified even more with all the pressures that I have as a father, trying to make sure that I'm doing the right thing and that my kids are coming up the right way, and that my goal in this life is to raise these kids up as lions and lionesses, man. Like, there's too many people taking advantage of our young people out there right now, and more than ever, we need good dudes that are mentors to these young people, to raise them up as lions and lionesses. And I pray, I have nightmares over it. I pray that my daughter is a lioness, that she's a leader. And same with my little man and Ben and everybody. That's what you want. That's what you want.
And, I'm sure a lot of people are like wanting us to wrap this up right now. There have been so many times, but I just have to say one more thing, and this is representing the younger people. I don't think a lot of older folks, specifically those that like to get a little political, realize how shitty it is when the youth is being blamed for shit that we had no way of affecting. Like, we get blamed for everything. We're blamed for fucking COVID. We're blamed for the wars. We're blamed for everything. It's, you young people. How the fuck is it our fault? Do you guys realize, like, when
you guys have got it hard.
Greta Thunberg.
I'll say this is the hardest time that our youth have ever gone through. And you know why? You know why it is?
Because we're trying.
Well, I'll tell you why it is. It's because modern technology advances have made it so brutal. Everything is coming so fast to our younger generation that, like, no, I mean, bullying back when you know, in my early years, since I'm a boomer, back in my early years, it was like, you know, you had a problem with someone, you'd go out and you'd fight them at the flagpole, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you'd square
we
up.
don't have that.
You'd square up. Now you look at someone wrong and they're getting shot in the face.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, now the online bullying, the cyber bullying with social media and all the things that the kids go through in school with I mean, the kids are cruel. Kids are absolutely cruel to one another.
I think the thing that people don't realize that are a little older is, like, you know, we're called pussies constantly. I've been called pussies. I've been told I'm not old enough to hang and to do a little name drop. And Eddie, I hope to God you're watching. Hey, Gordon, remember when you said "fuck you, Abe"? Fuck you, Gordon. I've been told a lot of things about how I'm too young to hang. But I think it's important to remember, when we were talking about climate control about a year ago, the UN asked a 13-year-old girl to speak. When we talk about COVID, the young people are the ones who are making the breakthroughs. And we're just hoping to God that people like you don't get us all killed.
Yeah, I think there's a lot, you know, at least for me, you know, I truly believe that, you know, I mean, the drugs are harder now. It's everything is coming a mile, you know, just 100 miles a minute, you know, through all the ways that these young people consume media. And it can be consumed so many different ways, and there's so many different takes out there that it's a real issue. And you know, just from being a parent, just being a dad, you know, seeing what my own kids have gone through, like, I've been hard on my kids. I've been very, very hard on my kids, and that's, you know, I've raised Brig up to be, you know, a national wrestler, and to you know, I've been hard on him. Why? Because I wanted him to be a beast, to look after his sisters, and to look after all the kids that need him at school. You know, I've been hard on him that, you know, dude, if I find someone that's getting bullied at your school and you don't do something about it, I will whoop your ass. You know, you know that. You know that.
And when you told us, you know, when you were telling us about that, I remember thinking, man, if I, God forbid, ever have kids, because, you know, I'm not big on the kids thing, but, you know, I would hope that I have the balls to tell my kid to stand up for others too, man.
Yeah. I mean, that's, you know, and not everybody can do that. Not everybody can do that. Not every kid should be expected to do that. You know, our youth are so talented in this day and age with so many different areas. Brig just happens to be gifted a little physically, you know, more so than I ever was. And I've looked at that as an opportunity for him to lead in other areas. That's how you can lead. You can lead by stepping in when others can't. Not everybody can do that. And I hope that you will be the bigger man and do that, because by doing that, you will be making an impact on your peers, on the people that surround themselves with you. They'll want to become like you. How do they become like you? They try and emulate the things that you do. I'm not saying go out and I'm not condoning violence in any way, shape, or form. But you know what? There's a reason why people don't get into it with his friends at school, because they know that they have to go through him.
Yeah.
And he'll get his ass kicked, you know, going through that for somebody else. And that's the kind of thing, you know, like I said, I mean, I just hope that, you know, the kids of today understand that at least they got a guy here that truly believes that. I think they have it hard.
Yeah.
I've always felt like, man, I can't imagine trying to go through what they went through. I mean, I look at the drugs that I had back in my day, and they're nowhere near what's getting kids killed nowadays, and the temptations and everything that these people have that get in their lives and can ruin their lives very, very, very easily. And I don't want to get on a soapbox with that, but I'm just saying, you know, we're all over the place, but I want people to know that, like, you know,
Well, this is
I-
how
I
you
get
and I
it.
talk.
I get
This
it.
is how you and I talk. This is we go. We're like, we're like
yeah.
all over the place when we talk. I do have a message. John sent me a message, and I asked if I could read it on air, and he said yes. He says, "Dylan, you don't understand how much this has and is helping me. I love you guys so much. I'm trying not to be like that guy right now." But really, you and Jay doing this, it just makes us all much closer, and we need that. So
Yeah, for sure. For sure. That's what it's
thank
about.
you, John. I guess.
What a wild ride, man.
Yeah, Landon, I want to let you talk because you've been sobbing.
mean,
Hey,
it's just-
Landon, question for you really quick. Where are you from originally? Where are you from?
So I was
Georgia,
born
you said?
in Salt Lake, but then I moved to Rome, Georgia, northwest corner of Georgia for my whole life, pretty much. So,
Do you ever get back? Have you ever been back to, when you say your family's out this way, is it brothers and sisters that are still out here, or who do you have out here?
well, it's like grandparents on my father's side, but I mean, I haven't really seen my dad since I was like 10 years old, so I don't really, we don't speak. I haven't spoke to them in 20 years. And then I have like my mom's sister lives out there and her family, and I think they actually just moved up to Montana and stuff. But again, it's not one of those close relationships.
Yeah,
So.
just people that come up with your family that have been out this way and everything.
Right.
Well, man, if you ever get out this way, I'm telling you, man, I would be offended if you didn't stop through Utah and hit me up, dude.
Absolutely.
I'm serious. Like I've told these guys, you roll through this area and you don't hit me up, then there's going to be a serious issue.
We'll drink some beer together. How about that?
Yeah, we'll break bread, man.
Well,
I got to get myself another beer.
Right.
So.
Jay, me and you were planning a trip. It's just a little detour, Ohio to Utah.
Right.
Dude, you know what? That whole mentality of living your life in a van down by the river.
Yeah.
Dude, right now, that sounds so
Right.
amazing. I would sell everything to do it right now. I really would.
Yeah. So
Like put the antenna on top of the mobile home and like play some Xbox
smooth
out in the
jam.
middle
I'm
of
down.
nowhere.
I am so
You know?
down. Right there on the Snake River is so beautiful. Oh yeah. All right, guys. Well, I think it's about time that we wrap this up. I know that Dylan, that you wanted me to do an ad read. I don't really care about that. I want to post a challenge to the people that are listening that, fuck checking out our ads. I want you to do something this weekend that's going to make an impact in somebody else's life. I apologize. I broke out there for a little bit, but there's just things that were said there that, touched home, real close to home. So, I want both of you guys to know, because I know you can't see the chat right now, that there's just been so much love throughout the entire episode. And Jay, man, I really appreciate you coming on, man.
Hey, man,
Absolutely.
I appreciate it. It's been a real pleasure, and to everybody, I don't know who's viewing, but to everybody out there too, like, when I say I love you, just know that you got a dude that, like I said, if you ever need anything, and I don't offer or solicit advice. I mean, if you need help, please reach out. Like, you're worth it. You really are worth it. And keep on keeping on. Make a positive impact in someone else's life. You never know what someone's going through.
That's it. That's
Sure.
the biggest takeaway. It doesn't cost anything to be a good person, and you never know what small thing you could do can make a huge impact on people. So, all right, guys, I thank y'all so much.
Yep.
And we'll see y'all next
care.
time. Appreciate it.